middle school, and Lee Road.
I mean, they could, who owns this?
The town.
Town owns
Town
that.
owns
Town
that
owns
too.
this, this is the access to,
This is the access
this is
there,
the
so
walkway.
it's on
So you
25
do a little
feet.
bit there and get
They
it
build
over,
that, and he's got their access.
you know?
Well,
They didn't have to play this way.
they would have to play it.
Yeah.
This is just a walkway access. It's not a paper street or
It's
anything.
not a paper street,
No.
okay, yeah, then they have to go this way. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
possible.
my guess is that originally School Hill wanted to, you know how you used to like to connect things?
Yep, yep.
Here and up and out
Absolutely.
here,
Build on
you
It
know,
was
for
supposed
public
to go
safety,
there
it's
and
supposed to
have
go
a-
through here, and I'm sure we didn't,
Right.
the neighbors up here didn't want that to
Yeah,
happen.
there's a possibility they could build that. They have the right to build it,
Mhm.
because it's, you know, they probably have rights in that paper street, when you look at the deed.
Well, we
So-
own it right now.
You own lot 53.
Right, that's what they're talking about.
If someone purchases lot 53, they would then get the rights to improve that paper street, and they can come in from School Hill, or they could come the other way. And you're right, I'm not gonna go across that wetland if I get dry to go through.
Right, and look
you-
what you have
you
in
get
front
a
of
lot.
you, you know,
Right.
221 feet of,
221 feet,
and
so-
you've got, you know,
plenty of
175 of
frontage.
it.
Plenty of frontage, and, you know, they have to put some kind of a turnaround in there for the fire,
This doesn't look wet.
but,
It's that,
you know, we've done that, so
it's the criteria.
they have to build to a certain standard, they have to come to us to build that road. So, just so you can.
Much like the other one off of Maple, that was just done, the wetlands crossing and.
That Lee Road, yeah, that one back there is, you can turn around in that, back in there, so.
Okay.
So actually, you know, that, in reality, that's a buildable lot, if someone wants to take the money.
But in reality, Pete is a tree hugger. He likes his privacy, he likes the wooded area, he likes the, you know, so knowing the character, I'm not,
So if we were to
So
sell it,
it's
sell
a-
it
but
with the
it-
deed
it-
restriction?
Right.
well, either a deed restriction, or if you look at it as a buildable lot and capitalize on it too. You know, what's a buildable lot in the town of North Reading, you know, you find out what the,
$20,000?
you know, you might have $100,000, $75,000 worth of improvements that have to be made to bring it in. $100,000 still, right.
If you think about what it costs in the end.
Right,
Oh, but a single-family home costs us money, yeah.
with the deed restriction.
Restrict it and sell it to for open space. Sell it for open space, for that reason, you're gonna get some.
And again, there may be other interests from these other, well, one director butter is related to you.
That's correct.
Yeah. His parents. But then
Day
there's two.
compound,
Huh?
the day compound.
Yeah.
You just realigned his lot line.
Yeah. You know, and then you've got the other two people on Lee Road. And I know at one point, person at 60, lot 61 did express an interest.
Yes.
Or inquiry, anyway. Because their house is very close to the lot line.
61.
So our options are sell it with a deed restriction or sell it as a buildable lot.
And again, as far as selling it as a buildable lot, you have a one-time flash in the pan, drop of a lot of money, and then you have a single-family home that brings
With a
2 or 3
tax,
kids.
right,
And
with a repeatable tax.
well, that costs you money, because if
It's
they
a
bring kids in the
loss on
house,
the
it'll
back
cost you
of-
money. A single-family home
I
costs you
agree.
money.
I'm not saying I'm one way or another, I just wanna know what my options are.
Am I gleaning correctly that a deed restriction is essentially something that makes sure it's keeping me honest, that what I say I'm gonna do with it is
Not
what I'm
only-
going to do
not
with
only
it?
Not only you, but when you go to sell that property,
If you're not
any
there.
future owner
Right.
as well. 'Cause
And
I
it-
don't think there's people here that have a concern about what you're going to do based upon what I just heard, but.
And again, what we've done in the past is many times, what we require people to do is to join the 2 lots and make it one. But in doing so, you already have adequate access to then subdivide it again and pork chop it and put 2 houses in there.
I'd rather not do that.
No, I know that, but
Because
I know you
not
would.
CPC and lawyers and plot plans cost money, I would just leave
yeah.
it alone.
Especially
No,
those
no,
lawyers.
but again, future owners could potentially do that.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
We're supposed to look at this stuff and what can we pull out.
Right. So that, so it may be in our interest to not allow you have
Join the
maintain
lots.
it as a separate parcel, and put restrictions on it, if that's truly what you have an interest in doing. And if we think it's in the
Is
best.
Peter
interest
the
of
only
town,
individual that's come forward at this point?
That's right. Yeah, other than, I know there was an inquiry.
So how does the board wish to proceed on this?
I would like to move forward and propose sale to Peter with the deed restriction.
Well, not just Peter, just proposed sale, because
It
some of these
has to
other two
be-
butters,
Right, I know.
the three
It
butters
has to
may
go
have
out
an
to
interest
bid.
too.
Right.
In the same way, I don't know, who's across, I don't know who owns. Maybe you know, Peter. Is this Michael Fritsch on the other side of you?
On the other side of Juniper?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then there's two other lots behind it, 10,000 square foot lots that are owned by somebody. I don't know if they'll go with Michael's or not. Are you aware of it?
They're not Michael's property. They might still belong to Mr. Ferris. He originally
Oh,
owned
right.
that piece of property.
Right. Okay. Okay, so again, Mr. Ferris would be across the way.
You're talking about lots 51 and 2?
Yes. Yeah, 50, I know who that is. But I didn't know if he owned 51 or 52, and you're probably right, it might still be.
Most definitely not them, but the current owners of that house, but I'm guessing on Mr. Ferris.
And
There's nothing on those lots now, 51?
they- No, it's all wooded
only
here,
10,000.
wooded and wet.
And 51, almost half of it, if not half of it's in a wetland.
Mm.
But it's under the same ownership, I don't know how long, he's owned it a long time.
Yes.
Ferris's have owned it a long time.
Yes.
So again, if someone were to improve Juniper coming off of School Hill Lane, then 51 and 52 would be worth considerably more.
Possibly.
But there's some, they are owned, correct?
They're
51 and
owned-
52? Are
Owned by the same person.
Owned by the same
And it all
person?
depends on how long they've owned it, if they can join them or not.
Yeah,
And he owned all three.
That's the thing, now you got two lots, put them together, you got 20,000, they build a lot. They build a lot on the other side of the street, on the other side of the paper road, build a paper road now, you're getting 2 for 1 paper road. So you gotta look at that.
But again, if we take our option of making it a separate, keeping it a separate lot with a deed restriction, it doesn't matter who owns it, it can never do anything more than,
If the
What it is
restriction
today.
working properly, yes.
Yeah,
which I would support that motion.
just, if 51 and 52 were enjoined, and it became a buildable lot, years down the road, because I know you don't want to build anything on property, is it conceivable, even with the deed restriction, that the future owners can come in and say, we'd like to have this deed restriction removed?
As Chris says, if the deed restriction is written correctly, it wouldn't be possible.
I would think everything is subject to change somewhere along the line.
No, if that's in a deed,
I believe, I don't think you can change it, Mr. Yule. I think you can write it properly. I'm not, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, but I've seen deed restrictions that have lasted for 50 years. So you have to write it properly, and it has to be recorded properly. That's one of the things that happen. We write these things, they don't get recorded properly. West Lane is one of them.
Yeah,
So, you have to follow through,
right.
you have to follow
Okay,
through.
and if that's the case, then, you know, I would support this idea. Again, my concern is that somewhere down the road, laws are changed, things happen, and they're allowed to build on it. At that time, in the future, it may not be a bad idea, because it may even add to the tax rolls, but,
I think the concern that Steve had raised was that, you know, without the restriction, then it might be attracted that the neighbor across the paper street would bid on it too, because he had the opportunity now to do more.
You'd get two buildable lots.
Right.
buildable lots.
Buildable lots.
And then it's
Worthwhile
worth,
to
then
put
it's
the
worth
street
doing
in.
the paper street and, you know,
yeah.
creating the access.
If you're gonna be making 53, lot 53 a buildable lot, we'd rather see the same guy own it, because then we get the road done right the first time. We don't try to get a road done and then have improvements done to that, because we're gonna have one more house on it. I'd rather see it come in altogether. But there's wetlands on lot 53. This is a great way to keep the wetlands intact the way they are, because they're never the same once it's built on,
Absolutely.
and still make a little bit of tax revenue from it. Won't be a lot, because it'll be a non-buildable vacant lot, but it'll make a few dollars here.
I don't wanna see another I don't wanna see another residential home built in this town. That's how I feel, so I'm not gonna support anything that has anything to do with building a home on it, so.
Now that you're
I
here,
can't listen
now that you're here, Mike,
I have a lawyer, I have a follow.
Okay, I'm just telling you my opinion. I won't support it. You're not gonna get my vote, so.
I'm in.
I'd be in favor of
I'm
putting a
in, let's
lot
shut the door.
out for auction with the deed restriction, with the restriction being that it's a non-buildable lot.
Yeah, and I think it should be advertised as such. In other words,
Right,
if we're gonna put it up for
absolutely.
sale, put it up for sale, and it's the intention of the board to render it non-buildable.
Make sure that your treasurer knows that too.
Oh, I know, yeah.
That's where we get into trouble.
And the assessed
And then
value.
look at the size, oh, there's buildable. Somebody will come in, and then it gets confusing.
Yeah, for the assessors and everybody else, yeah.
Right.
No, I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor it, but if the state set up some guidelines or some requirements, and that said that property, using this property as an example, that this meets a criteria for a buildable lot, the town has to allow a lot to be built. Can the state do something like that?
They've already done it. They already have the minimum criteria, so they're already, all
Well, they
those
may
things,
change it.
all those
They may
things are already
change
in
one.
place,
I'm
but there are other
thinking-
conditions that come into play.
That's it.
What's that?
The state's, the only thing the state can say, it's on a way, 5,000 square feet, 50 foot of frontage, and it was created before 1951. Then our zoning law comes, then zoning law came into play, in North Reading created their zoning law. So that's where they come in. The town of North Reading is a landowner. The landowner can do what they would like. They can restrict their property any way they would like to. They can't force a restriction on some other owner, but they can restrict the property they own. You legally own that piece of property.
Right.
You can restrict it however the board would like, because you are the owners, and you can sell it with that.
With those
restriction in
restrictions.
perpetuity. And that's what happens when we do a big, large subdivision. There are easements and things that are placed within, so that we can get to detention ponds and things, there's easements, and those have to be filed with land court, so that it's all legal and it's in perpetuity. And you can't change that unless the whole parcel is changed, and I don't think you're gonna do that.
All right.
Does this mess up your plans at all, Peter? Just, be honest, I mean, was there any thought as far as, joining it or building on it separately down the road and?
No, it was my design to not
Right.
join it into one piece of property for the reasons I mentioned before.
Yeah,
In short, I've been living in this town for 35 years. I built this home 12, 13 years ago with the intent of dying in it. And I like my view of the woods. And I noticed this became available in a town paper posting. And it just sparked my interest because I'd like to preserve my view of the woods. None of that's fact, but that's my story.
you're right. You're sticking to it. So, yeah, I have no problem in offering it for sale as a non-buildable lot with deed restrictions of making it a non-buildable lot.
You turning that into a motion, Steve?
Yeah, how do we want to,
Yeah, I have motions here, but they're not like that. They're not written. So we're talking parcel number
We didn't act on the other one because we sent it back to Jim
26.
to come back with another proposal.
Right.
I think you just added number one, Michael, in and of itself as a separate, non-buildable lot. That's my suggestion.
the other thing, and one of the things that we do, and I've had concern with over the years, is number 3.
Number 4. Yeah, number 3.
Yeah, is that no building or other structure of any kind shall be erected, unless it's, combined with the other, and then no building or other structure of any kind, which is 4, shall be erected or maintained on the premises. I don't have a problem with people putting a garage or a shed, or, you know, on these types